A very good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to the tutorial on Chola temples, architecture, and bronze sculptures. As you can see, we are going to be covering this topic in detail, and of course, I'm making this tutorial for you on this particular topic. So, my request would be that while I am explaining, you have your notebooks with you so that you can take down notes. Yes, and of course, you can then revise those notes later as and when you deem fit. Right? So, if you remember that we were in class also discussing about the Chola Empire and basically about how great they were. So if we actually pay a little closer attention to their temples and their architectures, we realize that two of the most legendary rulers of the Chola Empire, which were Rajaraja Chola and then Rajendra Chola, were responsible for the construction of two of the most elite temples that India has ever seen. Right, Rajaraja Chola constructed the temple in Tanjavur, which is Tanjore, and then Rajendra Chola was responsible for the construction of the temple of Gangai Kondai Cholapuram. Okay, Gangai. We can break this. It's a long word, so we can of course learn it by breaking it down. So it's Gangai Konda Cholapuram. Right? Simple. Gangai Konda Cholapuram. Right? Perfect. So now if we actually try to understand what was the purpose of creating Chola temples, of course they were places of worship. That is very obvious because it is a temple. But it was not just a temple or a place of worship alone. It was also the center for social, economic, and cultural activities in the Chola Empire. Right, for instance, Chola temples were a center for some amazing craft production where handicrafts were created of different sorts by the artisans, right? And if you realize, we have also had this discussion in class wherein temples were allotted land by the rulers, Devadanam, if you remember the type of land that was allotted, right? And whatever was produced on this land, be it the crops, be it whatever, the produce basically of the land was used to sustain or was used to help specialists who work in the temples. Like all of this produce used to go to all of these artisans and craftsmen, such as your priests, who of course performed the puja in the temples. Then you had the cooks of the temples themselves, who used to prepare the prasad and all of these things. Then, of course, you had the musicians who used to perform, dancers as well, sculptors, painters, so on and so forth, right? So all of them lived in the temple premises itself, and they used to be taken care of by the Chola emperors, right? So you realize that if we call it the center of social, economic, and cultural life, so we would not be very wrong in saying that, right? And of course, Chola bronze sculptures are extremely popular for their beauty throughout the world, even today. Yes, of course, now they're in museums, but some of the most magnificent bronze sculptures come out of the Chola period, right? And of course, they're usually images of gods and goddesses. They are mostly devotional in nature, and of course, sometimes they are also the sculptures of devotees as well. All right, so that brings us to the end of this tutorial. It was a very short topic. I hope you found some value in it, and I would perhaps see you the next time with a new tutorial. So until then, please take care of yourselves, have fun, and stay safe.